Okay, it's going to be a review of AEW's All In 2024 from Wembley. Looks like they did about 50,000 this year. But overall, man, I thought the show was, really damn good. I don't remember being this invested, while the main event was happening, possibly for any Bryan Danielson match. I mean, the only Danielson match I think that would come close to this in terms of just being really engaged, jumping up and down, it probably be that Money in the Bank 2011 match, because that was a huge match. Because even though most of you guys know I hate the Money in the Bank, that let me know that Danielson was gonna be a player in WWE, and so I still think for that time that was a huge match. And, I just didn't want it to end. The sad thing is, this whole year has really taught me. I don't want to get too personal, but, things do come to an end. And, having Danielson to look up to admire, to emulate, to learn from, I just didn't want it to end now. I still think he's as, you could make the case that he's as good as ever. And, I just wanted him to have that one last reign, even if it's for a couple months, even if it's for a couple more months. I think that will be great, and hopefully gets his neck taken care of, whatever issues he's having, and then maybe he could become, somewhat of a special attraction for AEW. But I did not want it to end like this. I just didn't, and I'm just a little bit relieved that it's going to continue, and we're going to get to see him defend the belt in a couple of weeks. So there's just a lot of good things to look forward to. But without getting carried away, let's move on to the show. All right, to open up the show, I just saw the main show. So just to open up the show here, you didn't even get any entrances. So we have a four-way London ladder match for the AEW Trios Championships. So you got a lot of different trios here. I thought this was a little bit ambitious booking, not to open up the show, but just in general. I just thought it was an ambitious thing to book. It's just tough to make this work. I thought you had some highs. I thought you had some lows here. But for the most part, I thought the right team went over. I thought it was a lot of fun for the most part. There were a lot of anticlimactic spots. There were so many things where they built up to the point where everybody was going crazy. Then it was just ugh, man, that could have been done a little bit better. For an example would be the Juice Robinson spot with Mother Wayne. The crowd was reacting Mother Wayne was going to go through the table or something crazy was going to happen, but she just kind of got sprayed with some hairspray. But let's go through the teams here. We got Pac teaming up with Claudio and Wheeler to take on who's the champions here. Let me get the champions right here. All right, the Patriarchy is actually the champions. Yeah, Christian, Killswitch, and Nick Wayne taking on Pac and the Blackpool Combat Club, the Bang Bang Gang of Juice and the Guns. Then you had the House of Black. So, I think one of the things about this Wembley show is, very similar to a WrestleMania where, you want to just kind of throw guys onto the show because it's the biggest show of the year. So, I think that's one of the flaws with All In. It definitely has that issue where you just want to kind of throw everybody onto the show. So, lots of different tag teams here, but I thought it was good though. I thought it was really, really good. A lot of great stuff to go over here. I thought Juice Robinson, was one of the highlights. He took one of the biggest bumps in the match. Christian, this is really good in terms of building up Christian as a heel. And, Christian is going to, I hate to say it, and I'm not crazy about this, but it looks like he's going to get the title shot against Danielson at All In. And, just by the way they booked this match with him screaming at, Luchasaurus, it kind of set the tone for some of the heel stuff that Christian's on the verge of doing. So you definitely understand that. But I think Pac and the Blackpool Combat Club, they put on a great show here. Claudio did some fun stuff out there. Pac, had his Wembley moment. They did the Kings of Wrestling spot, and then Pac followed it up with the Black Arrow off the top rope. So lots of really, really cool stuff to go over here. Christian did that awesome spear to Buddy Matthews, and he actually his head hit the table, and then him and Luchasaurus are trying to get up the ladder. Pac kind of it was kind of weird booking here. Pac is able to kind of steal Christian's thunder, and then Christian blames it on Luchasaurus. He says, "What the fuck happened to you?" And so you have that kind of ending the match right there. But, for the most part, I didn't think this was great. I thought you had some fun moments here. I thought it was kind of an ambitious thing to book. But, hey, the new Trios champions are Pac, Claudio, and Wheeler. I thought you had a good ending. Nick Wayne did some crazy stuff out there. Lots of good stuff. But at the same time, there were, some dull moments throughout the match. But we're going to move on to the AEW Women's Championship match. We got Timeless Toni Storm taking on Mariah May. I love the match. I thought it was good. I really think this probably should have went later on in the show because Toni Storm is extremely over. You got, two girls from the UK out there. I think they could have, carry the burden of going on right before the main event. Clearly, Sasha Banks and Britt Baker, they weren't able to, thrive in that spot. But I think they could have done it. But the bottom line is Mariah May is the new champion. I thought she came off great. She actually kissed Nigel here. She slapped her mother. She hit, she did the double drop kick to Luther to take him out. She got all bloody here. So Toni kind of got payback with, painting Mariah's face all bloody. But, it was just great back and forth. Great kickouts here. Very, very stiff, great theater. Great facial expressions, great emotion. They started off crying, and then they finished this match by just trying to kill each other. So I thought you had a lot of elements here. Definitely the best match I think Toni Storm had all year with her title reign. And, easily, I think the best AEW women's match that we've seen all year. So thumbs up there. I think Mariah May looked like a star. I kind of expected Toni to put her over here. And, I kind of expected, Mariah to really, look good here because, she's close with Toni Storm. But, the real test would be, how's she going to do with some of the other girls? But, it's definitely a step in the right direction for her. And, it's been almost a year, since Toni Storm has been champion. All right, next up, we actually have the FTW championship match. We got the last chance match for Hook. So we got Chris Jericho taking on Hook. Jericho comes out there with Fozzy. To perform the Learning Tree theme, actually. I thought that was really, really cool. So, a great moment for Jericho to be able to perform with his band. This has not been a great year for Jericho. I do not mean to kick him while he's down. But, hey, this feud with Hook, I'm just saying it's like, it almost had like a thank God it's over type of feel. They did some fun stuff out there. Cricket is getting really, really popular. I think it's on Triller now. It's on the Yes Network. Some guys at the park have been trying to educate me about how, cricket is going to be bigger than baseball in a couple of years, which I disagree with. But, shades of Casey Jones from the Ninja Turtles, we get to see cricket bats and cricket balls dumped by Jericho. So I thought that was pretty cool. It kind of felt like a handicap match. So if anybody saw Collision on Saturday, Hook actually took on Big Bill. And for some reason, like the fans turned on Hook big time. They booed him out of the building. Big Bill was extremely over. You could tell Taz was kind of annoyed by it. It didn't really translate on this show. Some of the fans were really into Big Bill. This is something from the UK though. Like apparently he reminds the UK fans of somebody, and then Taz just said, "Oh, he resembles an asshole." So I thought that was pretty funny. But it kind of felt like a handicap match for the most part. Hook did some really, really nice suplexes out there. It had some fun moments. Wouldn't say it was great. Taz actually does the big choke out to Brian Keith to kind of give Hook the green light to choke out Jericho. So Hook is the new FTW champion. And I just think I think Jericho definitely needs to move on and find something else to do. I don't know if you could just stop the Learning Tree gimmick at this point, because if he's not going to feud with someone like Hook, like say Jericho feuds with Christian or maybe Edge, can he still, maintain this Learning Tree gimmick? I'm kind of in favor of him just dropping the gimmick. Maybe he'll take some time off. I'm sure some of you guys will love that. But, you know, shout out to Chris Jericho. You know, even though he's had a rough year, it doesn't take away from the fact that I'm still a huge Y2J fan, Jericho fan. He's still a legend to me. So, you know, the true Jericho fans are the ones that are going to stick with him through the bad times. And, you know, I definitely think that's true. So let's move on to the AEW tag team title match. We got the Young Bucks taking on FTR and the Acclaimed three-way tag match right here. You know, this kind of felt cold to me going in. I think we've seen the Bucks and FTR, you know, wrestle way too many times. And, you know, the Acclaimed, you know, I think the Acclaimed have gotten hot since Blood and Guts. So, you know, not the worst thing in the world. The match was better than I expected. They actually did not get too much time. But, you know, and to be completely honest with you, the crowd really wasn't into this at first. You know, they had to work really, really, really hard, I think, to really, you know, get the crowd into this. But they got the job done. I thought it ended up being, you know, really, really good. I wouldn't quite say this was great. The Acclaimed on the mic, you know, Max has had some funny lines about, you know, Bret Hart and the penis pump stuff. So the mic wasn't great there, but you know, the promo was actually kind of, you know, short and sweet and to the point. And then we got this thing rolling here. And, I mean, it was pretty damn good. You know, the Bucks wrestled a pretty smart match. They were trying to bait, you know, the Acclaimed into using, you know, helping out with their finishers with the, you know, the EVP trigger. So you actually saw a lot of guys, you know, actually do some assists with the finishers, especially with the big rig. I think you actually had the Acclaimed and FTR, you know, assist each other on the big rig. Yeah, so the Bucks had a really, really, you know, smart game plan here. They sold it well on commentary, so the Bucks do go over. But, you know, once again, I think, you know, Nicholas Jackson, you know, put on a great show here, man. Like even though the Bucks are a little bit watered down now, I'm not crazy about, you know, their ring attire. But Nicholas Jackson, you know, busted out some incredible things just to get this thing going. And for the most part, it was pretty damn good. You know, FTR had their, you know, German suplex fest. There were some great roll-ups at the end here. You know, the mic drop near fall came off great. But I got to say, Nick Jackson really busted his ass here. And, you know, the overall, I got to say, you know, it's tough because the Bucks are trying to, you know, be these crazy, you know, EVP heels. But for the most part, you know, this is an important match. You know, anytime you go to Wembley, you still want to be able to, you know, rock the house and show what you can do. And I still think the Bucks, you know, delivered, you know, considering, you know, the limitations of the gimmick. Okay, next we had the Casino Gauntlet match for a future AEW Championship title shot. Holy shit, man. I'll tell you, man, this is one of the best things on the show. This was like the gift that keeps on giving, like that Jelly of the Month Club. I mean, God damn it, man. How many great surprises were in this match? Lots of great talent. There was no weak links. The only weak link, I would say, was like the kill switch stuff with Christian. That was kind of like it was kind of a mood killer, the way Christian won this thing. So Christian's actually going to go over here, and he's going to get a title shot. I'm hoping he just gets a title shot on Dynamite. I really don't think, you know, Bryan Danielson and Christian, the main event of All Out. I'm going to say it now. I just don't think it's good enough. I think at this stage, I know Christian's had a great resurgence, especially last year, you know, dating back to Wrestle Dream, the stuff he did with Darby. I don't know. I'm just not crazy about seeing Christian and his stupid little turtleneck, you know, wrestle Bryan Danielson at All Out. I just think there's better options. If you're going to do a four-way and you want to put Christian in there, you know, I'm cool with that. Maybe like a four-way elimination match. I really wouldn't mind that. But, you know, Bryan Danielson and Christian one-on-one at All Out, I just think there's better options. You know, I think Darby's going to get the title shot at Grand Slam. So we'll see what they do with Christian with this title shot. But hey, man, the important thing is here, this was friggin' awesome. They started with Orange Cassidy, you know, Okada. You know, they did some funny stuff there. You know, I wish Okada followed up that facial expression with the Rainmaker. That's the only thing I would have changed about that opening segment there. And then one of the best moments of the night, we got Nigel coming out. Nigel comes out with the Oasis theme, got a great reaction. It felt like everybody in the crowd knew who Nigel was, so that was a pleasant surprise. I thought Nigel looked really, really good. He did some great grappling with Zack Sabre Jr. He actually did hit the Jawbreaker Lariat. I think it was on O'Reilly, because they both do the Jawbreaker now, and I think he actually did hit it on O'Reilly. The highlight would be from Nigel. He actually hit a double Tower of London on Kyle and Roderick Strong. So, yeah, Nigel looked really, really good out there. He wrestled the whole match, too. He was involved throughout this whole thing. He wrestled long, too. So I don't know if this is just a one-time shot for Nigel. Now that Danielson is champion, let's just throw it out there. Bryan and Nigel, hopefully before this this reign ends, that will be awesome. That might be asking for too much. Zack Sabre Jr. was a great surprise. Apparently, he actually won the G1 Climax tournament, so that's pretty awesome. If anything's going to make you want to subscribe to New Japan World, be anything to do with Zack Sabre Jr. winning a tournament. So thumbs up there. Curious to see how that came off. Roderick comes out. Roderick was actually saying that he wanted to challenge Danielson if he won this thing. So, yeah, Bryan Danielson, Roderick Strong. That would not be a bad thing to go back to. Mark comes out with the ROH title. I thought he got a great reaction. Hangman Page played a huge role on this show. Jarrett came out to a thunderous reaction. Karen looked awesome out there. Jarrett, the fans were really into him. Him and Hangman just went at it hard. I thought that was great. And then Ricochet makes his big AEW debut. Yeah, the rumors were true, actually. It's funny, man. I ran into this dude at the park, and I was really surprised at how knowledgeable he was. This dude, I've been playing with this guy for like 10 years. I didn't know he was a wrestling fan, though. He was telling me that he's got tickets to Full Gear, and then he starts just telling me all these crazy things about how Ricochet's coming to AEW. He told me Garcia was leaving. He was wrong about that. He did tell me Penta and Rey Fenix are going to the WWE, but he did mention, he was right about Ricochet, though. Ricochet makes his AEW debut wearing the black and gold. Yeah, I think he looked awesome, man. Ricochet in WWE, it's had some ups and downs. I just feel like with Ricochet, it's been very inconsistent. It was a really inconsistent run in the WWE. Now he's here in AEW. He's got great history with Excalibur. He's a 2-time Bola winner. This is where Ricochet should be. I think he's a perfect fit for AEW. He looked awesome out there. He did some crazy stuff out there. Before Christian even comes out, he did a high spot on Christian. So it ends with Christian and Killswitch helping each other out. Killswitch actually chokeslams Kyle O'Reilly, and Christian gets the title shot anytime he wants. So we'll see if it happens on Dynamite or at All Out or at Wrestle Dream. We'll see what happens there. But the bottom line is, the important thing is, I thought in terms of talent, a lot of the best talents were thrown into this match. There really wasn't any weak links. You had some nice surprises, and the wrestling was good. I mean, could this have been a little bit better in terms of the wrestling? It's tough to make it work. You got guys in there that haven't been wrestling in years. So it was still good, though, man. It was an awesome thing to watch. This is one of the funnest things I've seen all year. Obviously the highlights being Nigel's return and Ricochet's debut in AEW, but the whole thing was fucking sweet. Okay, next up for the AEW International Championship, or if you want to call it the AEW American Championship, we got MJF defending the belt against Will Ospreay. Great stuff, man. Ospreay comes out there with the Assassin's Creed, promotional entrance, which, actually did work out pretty well. He looked pretty cool. The entrance was actually really well done, as well as MJF comes out there with the Americana entrance, the American flag. Taz even said, this is a great way to get heat. Match was awesome, though. This MJF and Ospreay match, I thought this was a great follow-up to the Dynamite match. I think when you look back on it, throughout history, I think the Dynamite match is going to get more love. It's probably going to go a little bit more memorable because of how long that was and how over the top it was. But this was a great follow-up. This had a nice payoff. God, a lot of great stuff to talk about here, man. It was just really, really well done. I mean, MJF's the kangaroo kick, I think it works a lot better as a heel than it did as a babyface. And when you look back on it now, like I almost feel like an idiot for actually thinking that some of the stuff he did with Cole, all that comedy stuff, actually was like, acceptable. And, when you think a little bit about Adam Cole, and, Ospreay even brought up the main event. He actually called it a jerk-off fest. So it kind of has you wondering, like, you know, where is Adam Cole? And exactly, you know, where does he kind of fall into this whole thing? Is there any future with Cole and MJF? You know, as of right now, you just don't know. But not to take away from this match, though, I thought MJF wrestled a really, really smart match. There was a lot of times where he's trying to bait him in by faking an injury, then he hit him with a pile driver. I thought that stuff was great. All right, a lot of great stuff to talk about here. The Stormbreaker spot, I kind of have mixed feelings on it. Like, execution-wise, it was flawless. But I don't know, man. I just said to myself, man, you know, a lot of the fans didn't really buy into that near fall, and I'm almost like they got to break up. They got to build up the Stormbreaker better as a finisher, and then you could hear some of the fans start chanting, you know, Tiger Driver. You could hear them chanting it. So if you want to look at it from that standpoint, it made the fans kind of wish Ospreay, you know, had to dig a little bit deeper and actually bust it out. You know, you knew he was going to hit it. Danielson actually said to him, he said, do it. So you knew that was going to come back into play. But a lot of great things here, man. I don't want to leave anything out, but, you know, I almost forgot about the cameraman spot. Ospreay actually, you know, does the running blade, misses, takes out the cameraman. You know, MJF followed up the, you know, the belt shot with an awesome looking brainbuster. You could see the belt shot coming, but I still like the way it was executed. It was really, really well done. Lots of great stuff to talk about here, though, man. I mean, too much great stuff. They have great chemistry. I think MJF, as long as he's in the ring with someone that's great, you know, you could definitely get great matches out of him. This is definitely, I think, you know, besides the Danielson match, these matches with Ospreay, I think they're the best stuff MJF has ever been a part of, you know, from a wrestling standpoint. I love the ending. You know, someone actually comes out in a mask. Once you saw it, you kind of knew it was Garcia. You knew Garcia had to get his revenge. And, you know, that would have been the predictable thing. Like, I think when it happened, you know, like, you know, Garcia's going to screw him at All In. And then, you know, you'll get the big MJF and Garcia match it all out. But, you know, I heard a lot of mixed things about Garcia, you know, being written off TV that, you know, it made this a little bit more surprising, a little bit more unpredictable. So a great moment there, a great moment for Garcia to get his revenge on MJF with that Dynamite Diamond stuff. And Ospreay, you know, busts out the Tiger Driver and came off great. Great finish. Awesome moment right there. So the match really does hold up. The match really does hold up well. It's got great replay value, in my opinion. So definitely check it out if you haven't seen it yet. All right, next up we have the AEW TBS Championship match. We got Mercedes Mone taking on Dr. Britt Baker. Yeah, you know, it just didn't hit for me, man. I thought they were kind of in a rough spot going this late. But yeah, I mean, the bottom line is Mercedes just can't get it going. I don't know exactly what the problem is. You know, the easiest thing I could say is execution-wise, it looks like she's having a tough time just executing big moves. I mean, really the only thing that came off great from Mercedes here is she did a Michinoku driver off the top rope, which came off great. But even like the Moneymaker finish, like it seems like she's having a tough time just, you know, getting girls off their feet. You know, it's as simple as that. I mean, I like to go back and watch, you know, the match that she had with Bayley in Brooklyn and just kind of compare, because it's definitely not a conditioning problem. She looks like she's in great shape. I don't know if she's still injured, or maybe it's a, you know, more than just an ankle injury. I just don't know. But this is tough because Mercedes is definitely kind of in like a slump, you know, since she's come back. And then Britt's been out a while too. So you can't really expect a lot out of Britt. I think Britt is good in certain gimmick matches and if she's in there with the right girl. But yeah, the match just didn't hit for me. I mean, it had some good booking things about it. You know, Britt doing the Eddie thing to, you know, get Camille to get kicked out of the match. That was pretty entertaining. And, you know, there were some good moments with the gloves and, you know, the fishhook stretch. Some good counters there, but for the most part, I think it's a forgettable match. I would actually say this is, you know, this is up there with, you know, some of the worst stuff Mercedes ever been a part of. I mean, Mercedes had the great entrance, and she's dancing, and she, you know, you get the impression that she thinks she's hot shit and everything. But, you know, when it comes down to wrestling in the ring, you know, you got two attractive women here. I would actually say this, like, in terms of attractive females that are in great shape, you know, this might be the hottest combination on the mainstream level right now. I mean, but, you know, for as hot as they are and for as big as their egos are, it just doesn't equate to a great match. But, you know, I think the feud has been good, though. I enjoyed what they've done on the mic. I like to see them get another chance down the road to kind of, you know, redeem themselves. But I just didn't think the match was great. Okay, next up for the AEW TNT Championship. This is a coffin match between, you know, the formerly known as the Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, taking on Darby Allin. It was cool, man. It was really, really cool. You got a huge surprise at the end with Sting coming out to help Darby. You know, the match was a little bit disappointing, though. I think it was a little bit one-sided. I mean, Darby had some really nice crash and burns, though. I mean, that dive into the coffin while it was kind of vertical was a nasty-looking bump. You know, Jack, you know, say what you want about him. You know, he came off like a badass heel here. He really wrestled a smart match. He actually duct-taped you know, Darby's hands so he couldn't use his hands. You know, there was an awesome spot off the top of the stage. But, yeah, ultimately, you know, Jack actually got him in the body bag. You know, the coolest part was probably Darby, you know, trying to, you know, bust out of the body bag with the facial expression. That was pretty cool. But Jack Perry ends pretty convincingly, only 10 minutes. You know, this was a pretty cool feud. I wish they had brought out the DiCaprio from the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the flamethrower, like they did a Double or Nothing. I thought that would have been really, really cool. But hey, man, they kept it short and sweet. You know, the Young Bucks come out. They tease trying to light the coffin on fire like Kane did with Undertaker, and then Sting comes out to make the save. Yeah, Sting's you know, return was awesome. You know, it seems like Sting is going to be treated like Batman. Like if you throw up the bat signal or the Sting signal, he'll be there, you know, to rescue anybody that needs it, especially Darby. So that's cool. I wouldn't mind seeing Sting, you know, make a big return, you know, once in a while without wrestling. I think it's, you know, with the way it ended at Revolution, I think it's more than appropriate, to put it lightly. Okay, moving on to the main event for the AEW World Title. We have title versus career. So Bryan Danielson, if he loses, he will be forced to retire. You know, very similar to Shawn Michaels taking on The Undertaker at WrestleMania 26. Okay, so let me just say this before we get on to the actual match. With the way this was going, I seriously thought this was going to be it for Danielson. I got to give Danielson credit. He was smart as hell here. You know, even the stuff that he did with Jarrett was great. But, you know, Danielson, you know, went on a lot of radio shows and, you know, talk shows, podcasts, whatever the hell you want to call them. And I just got the impression that he really, you know, wanted it to end here. You know, he did a really, really good job of just saying, you know, he's banged up. You know, he promised his daughter that he would stop wrestling at this point. So, you know, I really, really thought this was it. But I think once Danielson loses this belt right here, he'll get. This is going to be very similar to when he lost the Ring of Honor World Title, where after he loses the belt, he'll get surgery, whether it's neck surgery, you know, shoulder surgery, and then when he does come back, I think you just use him very, you know, sporadically, like, you know, almost like Brock Lesnar, where, you know, just have him wrestle on rare occasions and make it feel special. I think if anybody deserves, you know, that kind of schedule, it's definitely Bryan Danielson. So I was really relieved, was really, you know, heavily invested in this match. I'll tell you, there were moments in this match, especially towards the end, where everything Danielson did, I jumped out of my seat and was doing it. Like when he was working the crowd, I was doing the same thing. And I kind of felt like Apollo Creed when Rocky was fighting Clubber Lang in the main event of Rocky 3, where, you know, he was just every single punch, he was just doing it, you know, because he was so invested in that match. So the same thing with me. I was more invested in this match than, you know, maybe any other match that Bryan Danielson's ever had. So I got to say, it was great stuff, though, man. Another incredible performance from Swerve. The MVP race is going to be tight in AEW. So I'll tell you, it's a three-way race for MVP. It's going to be between Swerve, Danielson, and Ospreay. I think what Danielson did with this, match right here and this victory is he definitely put himself in contention to be the MVP. And also, I think this was so good that, it's seriously, I mean, he's already in consideration to be the greatest of all time. But if you're going to tell me that it's undisputed, Bryan Danielson is the greatest professional wrestler that has ever lived, I think this match goes a long way with backing up that case. See, guys like Benoit, guys like Britt, they just haven't had this level of a match at 43 years old. I just, obviously with Benoit, he never got the chance to, hit 43. Brett has not really had anything close to resembling something like this, past his 40s. So the match was really, really that good. Danielson got busted open early here from the Death Valley Driver, which was good. And I mean, I didn't really see how we got bloody. The Death Valley Driver on the edge of the ring apron. I don't know if that's what busted Danielson open, but, Swerve kind of, resorted to be more of a heel here. Went up to Bree and Danielson's kids and was like showing Danielson all bloody. So, I thought that definitely added to the match. A lot of creativity, too much great stuff to go over. We'll be here forever. But I thought Danielson did a lot of just really interesting little things here, like Swerve's big stomp. He was able to counter that into like a half crab. I thought that was really creative. The transition into the Regal Plex, came off great. But I gotta say, man, there's so much great stuff to go over. That big pressure is what Swerve is calling his the DRL driver, that Swerve driver, whatever you want to call it. I didn't realize they changed the name of it. But yeah, the first time anyone's kicked out of that, after that kick out, I think the fans knew Danielson had a chance. Let me not forget about this. There was some just great no-selling from both guys. First it was from Danielson. Danielson just got fired up, and he just started just slapping the crap out of Swerve. Just stiff slaps right to the face. And then Swerve no-sells the first Psycho knee, and he just gets up and he gives him that sweet-looking insecurity. It looked like Swerve is just going to, kick him to death at certain points there. But I'll tell you what, man, the Hangman stuff followed up by the Busaiku knee. Holy shit. I mean, we're talking about, one of definitely the near fall of the year. I mean, once Swerve kicked out of that, even though most people wanted Danielson to win, everyone's just chanting AEW, AEW at the top of their lungs. Danielson actually, he got another, running knee up in there. It wasn't exactly a running knee, but he was able to kind of knee him, and then he transitioned into the label lock. Swerve fights out of the label lock. Danielson goes to work on his fingers, just bends it back, and then he puts him into like a regal stretch to make Swerve tap out. So awesome moment. Awesome victory. Danielson is finally the AEW champion. Celebrates with, Pac. Actually, Pac is actually out there with Claudio and Wheeler. They bring the kids into the ring. Bree's in the ring. I think they actually show his sister crying. If you've seen the Wrestling with Road Diaries documentary, you remember you get to see Danielson's sister at the house and everything. So her crying was used. The kids are actually crying during the match. I think the daughter started crying after Danielson was losing too much blood, but too much great stuff to go over. This is up there with the best main event of the year for me. In the heat of the moment, though, you needed to watch this live, especially if you're a Bryan Danielson fan. And let me tell you, you don't need to love Ring of Honor to love Bryan Danielson. My brother did not like Ring of Honor. He's more of a WWE guy, but he always connected with Danielson even before Danielson got to the WWE. So I'll tell you, if you are a huge Bryan Danielson fan, you need to have seen this live. It was just so good. Man. And you know what, guys? I don't want to get carried away. But before All Out, I'll try to review the Go Home show for Dynamite and kind of mix it in with, a preview of All Out and just kind of laying out what I think should happen with Danielson's title reign. But yeah, I'm hoping that this just lasts until, you know, possibly Final Battle. And I'm kind of in favor of AEW adopting the Final Battle name, but I'll explain more, you know, down the road. But we got plenty of things to look forward to. You got Grand Slam, you got All Out, you got Wrestle. Danielson is definitely going to be on Wrestle Dream because, you know, it's in Washington. You know, I was kind of in favor of seeing Darby, Danielson, and Swerve, a three-way there. But as long as you got the title on Danielson, you know, he could face anybody. But, you know, just so many great possibilities that you can play with now. And, you know, I don't really think this needs to be, you know, that long of a reign. I think, you know, if you're going to tell me it's going to end at Full Gear, it's like, all right, this is better. This is better than I expected. You know, if it's going to end at Final World's End or, you know, Final Battle, whatever you want to call it, I think that would be fine. But I think that's the plan. I think Danielson's going to get through this reign, and then he'll get his surgery, and then he'll just become a part-time player. It's cool. I think sometimes just retiring or having time off, it's not the solution to everything. And, you know, I think it's always good to have something to kind of still lock in on and focus on, even if it's just, you know, in a part-time role. So, yeah, I'll just end it right there, man. That's All In 2024. Really, really enjoyed the show, and I'm out.